Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we are continuing our look at Journey Into Nyx, and we're going to move on and look at Voracious Rage, which is a black and red deck. So let's take a look at the deck list. We've got 22 creatures, 6 sorceries, 5 instants, 2 enchantments and 25 land. We've got a mana curve off to the side there. So yeah, let's start taking a look at the deck. So the theme of the deck is Minotaurs, which is really cool. So Minotaurs have been in Theros the whole block, like from the start, and I think this is actually the right way of doing it, in that the tribal deck that cares about them is being released in the last set of the block, so it's got the whole block to pull from to bring in extra like Minotaur cards, rather than release it being in the first set. Say if this was in Theros, it just wouldn't have as many tools to work with. So I think this is actually this is the best way of doing a tribal deck, I think, in a block that has maybe one or two tribes, but it's not the focus of the set maybe. Yeah, so really happy that Minotaur's finally got a deck. Yeah, so let's start maybe taking a look at them. So not the foil face rare, we'll look at the foil face rare in a bit. But we've got Rage Blood Shaman, so 1 and 2 red, 2/3 trample. Other Minotaur creatures you control have +1/+1, have trample. So very straightforward, like Lord effect, and just gives a keyword. So yeah, this is like fairly straightforward. Just makes your Minotaurs bigger, gives them trample. Yeah, it's perfectly fine, very functional. Maybe a little bland, honestly, but it's still okay. I think it's decently costed, like 3 mana for this effect. It's a 2/3 trample on its own, I suppose. Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. What I think is actually a bit more interesting is Ragemonger. So we've got 2 of those. So 1 black and a red for a 2/3. They're pretty much all 2/3s. I think the Minotaurs, which is like a nod to the old like Hurloon Minotaur back in Alpha, or at the very least they usually have higher toughness than power. Mostly, not always, but mostly. So yeah, so Ragemonger makes your Minotaur spells cost 1 black and 1 red less to cast, but that only reduces the amount of coloured mana you pay. So yeah, for example, if you cast a Minotaur spell with a mana cost of 2 and a red, it costs 2 generic instead to cast. So yeah, this is actually a pretty fun effect. Actually, it's not an effect we see often, like this kind of reducing coloured mana in mana costs. I'd always like it when a color other than green gets like a mana dork or something, and this is essentially what it is. It's making cards of a certain type cost less, which is essentially what a mana dork does. So this is I think a pretty good effect, and like the Minotaurs are generally like they're like a mid-range tribe, so they can be like pretty expensive. So you don't have many where you're getting the reduced of like black and red. Like I think it's really only the next card, the Kragma Warcaller, is black and red. But it's pretty much going to knock down the cost of every other Minotaur you cast by at least 1. So yeah, I think this is pretty solid. God, it'd be so nice to do this like turn 4, like do 1 Ragemonger, and then cast the other one as well, just for only one generic. That'd be pretty good. Yeah, and then everything is 2 less. That'd be amazing. But yeah, really good card. Really like Ragemonger. And then 2 Kragma Warcores, just another like Minotaur Lord effect. So 3 a black and a red. For a 2/3, gives all your Minotaurs haste, and whenever a Minotaur you control attacks, it gets +2/+0 center, which is, I mean, this is a pretty good effect, right? So all your Minotaurs can swing as soon as you play them, and they get stronger when they do it, which obviously combos well with like Rage Blood, giving them trample. So yeah, really solid, and again, really happy there's 2 of these in the deck. Have a single Fellhide Petrifier, so 2 and a black for a 2/3 with Death Touch. Gives all your other Minotaurs Death Touch. Again, like really like nice straightforward effect. So they can really load up on the keywords. So we're getting haste, Death Touch, trample, +2/+0 when they attack. So yeah, like all these kind of lords out giving keywords. Yeah, the Minotaurs can be pretty scary, I think. What I really like about Fellhide Petrify is like even if you don't have any other Minotaurs out, this is perfectly fine at 3 mana, just for a 2/3 with Death Touch, I think, honestly. We got a single Fanatic of Mogus, so 3 and a red. When Fanatic of Mogus enters the battlefield, it does damage to each opponent equal to your devotion to red. Each red in the mana cost of permanents you control counts towards your devotion to red. So we've not seen devotion really for a while. It was in that one deck in the first set, the Dark Devotion, and then it kind of dipped in and out. I can't remember really many many other times when it showed up again. So, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have a nod here. I think Fnatic Amogus is actually pretty solid because like at the very minimum, it's 4 mana for 4/2 that does 1 damage to each opponent when it enters the battlefield. But it's more likely going to be doing maybe like 2 or 3 damage, just because a lot of the Minotaurs actually have like the red Minotaurs actually have double red in the mana cost. So yeah, this can potentially do quite a lot of damage. Yeah, I really like it, and yeah, I think it's I kind of like to think of it as kind of like a Minotaur version of Flame Tongue Kavoo, except obviously it can't hit creatures, but yeah, I think it's solid. And then we've got 3 Death Bellow Raiders, so 1 red for 2/3, has to attack every turn if able, and you can pay 2 and a black to regenerate it. Yeah, again, this is again perfectly solid thing. Like 2 mana for 2/3 is fairly solid. Yes, it has to attack every turn if able, so that's obviously a bit of a drawback. But at least it's got regeneration as well. This is fine. I think it's absolutely fine. Then we got a single Minotaur Skull Cleaver. Really sad there's actually only one of these. So I think this is excellent. I really like Minotaur Skull Cleaver. So 2 in red for a 2/2 with haste. When it ends the battlefield, it gets +2/+0 to 10. So I just really like this because 3 mana you cast it and it just immediately attacks as a 4/2. Which is really it's a really strong like third turn play. So yeah, I really think the deck could have benefited from having like more of these in it. Really solid common. I really like Minotaur Skull Cleaver. And then we've got 2 War Chanter and Mogus, so 3 in double black for a 3/3. Has Inspired, which was a mechanic that was in the Born of the Gods set. So whenever it becomes untapped, it gets its Inspired effect, which gives another creature you control Intimidate until end turn. And I went over it in the Inspiration deck, is that I just think this takes too long to really set up because assuming you don't have Ragemonger out, this comes down turn 5. Assuming it doesn't have haste either as well, and then turn 6 maybe then like you attack with it or get it tapped in some way, and then maybe turn 7 it untaps, and like for all that waiting you just give 1 creature Intimidate, which is like not terrible. Like giving evasion is not bad, but like it's just very underwhelming. Takes a really long time to set up, and just I just don't think it's that great, honestly. I would have definitely preferred more Minotaur Skull Cleavers, a lot more straightforward, or even like just like some of the black vanilla Minotaurs that were around, like in either in set or in M14, like the Minotaur Abomination. I just think honestly that would have been better than this because I'm just really I'm just not unimpressed by the inspired creatures really. And then we've got 2 Fellhide Brawlers, 1 the black for a 2/2, just can't block unless you control another Minotaur. Such a minor downside because you have, the deck is full of Minotaurs, so it's just a 2/2 for 2. And then we got a few vanilla Minotaurs because Minotaurs are the vanilla kings apparently. So 2 Borderland Minotaur, just 2 in double red for a 4/3, and then 3 Pensive Minotaurs, 2 in red for a 2/3. Just it really annoys me that like we got 3 Pensive Minotaurs when this it could have been 2 and 2, right? You could have had 2 of these and then 2 of the Skull Cleaver, which is a much better card, but it is what it is. But yeah, you've got you got plenty of vanilla beef in here to fill the gap, I suppose. And then we got like just a few non-Minotaur creatures again, just to kind of fill the gap. So the actual foil face rare is Spawn of Thraxes, so 5 and double red for a 5/5 with flying. So which is alright, that's like standard kind of dragony stats. When it enters the battlefield, it does damage to target creature or player equal to the number of mountains you control. Which is fairly solid as an ETB comes in. Potentially doing at the very least it's doing 2 damage, so it's just like a shock effect, I suppose. But again, more likely it's going to be doing maybe like 3 or 4 damage. Which if it's straight to a player, that's pretty good. This is coming down maybe like turn 7. You may be getting into like the late game if you haven't won by then. Just casting this and doing just like a blast of like 3 or 4 damage might be enough to just end the game there. And if not, you've got a big 5/5 flyer then. So yeah, I think this is okay. It's just a shame. It's just a shame in set there was no like foil. There was no rare like Minotaur really that could be used. They had to kind of use this dragon rather than something more fitting to the deck's theme. But it's still okay. It's still an okay card. And then we got a single Insatiable Harpy, 2 and 2 black for a 2/2 flying lifelink. Fine, it's a bit boring. And then a single Farika's Chosen, just 1 black mana for a 1/1 Death Touch, which is always welcome. Always like a 1/1 with Death Touch for 1. And then non-creature spells. So we've got 2 Flurry of Horns, 4 and a red, which makes 2 Minotaur creature tokens which have haste. So this is okay. Just add some extra Minotaurs to the field, and then hopefully they get all the buffs. So yeah, this is okay. It may be a little expensive, but it is making 2 of them, I suppose, so it's okay. A single Rollick of Abandon, 3 and double red. All creatures get +2/-2 until end 10. So this is actually a really interesting callback because yeah, like back in the early sets, red used to have like these kind of you normally associate this effect with black now, like to give plus power but minus toughness. But it's really interesting. This is like it feels like a callback to the old Immolation aura, which was like you put it on a creature and it gave it +2/-2. So yeah, it's kind of refreshing to see a red card give a minus toughness effect. So in a way, this can be removable. Really, this is here just to buff up your Minotaurs because they've all got well, most of them have got like 3 toughness, so they can survive the toughness drop and then get the power boost. This kills all like the weak creatures on the board, and then you're super buffed up. Beefy bull boys can just run in and do a bunch of damage. So yeah, it's okay. It's a shame. So maybe, well, I was gonna say it's a little expensive, but it can be potentially like a minor board wipe as well. So yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. What's not okay, I think, is Lightning Diadem. This is crazy overcosted for what it does. So 5 and a red, aura that goes on a creature. When it ends the battlefield, does 2 damage to target creature or player, and enchanted creature gets +2/+2. This is not worth 6 mana. Like, this is so expensive for what it does. I think that this would be okay like at 3, I think, because we're at the point in the game like where +2/+2 is maybe like that's 2 mana maybe at most, because I'm just thinking of like some of the auras from Innistrad and stuff. But yeah, and then 2 damage to target creature player. Yeah, it's like a shock effect, which is like still fine. You're still achieving a lot with this 1 card, but it doesn't need to be 6 mana. I have no idea why it's so expensive. Very underwhelming. 2 Magma Sprays, 1 red mana. Instant does 2 damage to a target creature, and if it would die this turn, it's exiled instead. So this is fine. Just permanently exile a creature. That's fine. Always like these kind of red, like disintegrate little burn spells. I think that's fine. Single Pinnacle of Rage, 4 and double red, does 3 damage to each up to 2 type creatures and or players. Again, expensive, but potential like 2 for 1. I suppose it's all right. And Searing Blood, double red, does 2 damage to that creature, and if when that creature, not if, when that creature dies this turn, Searing Blood deals 3 damage to that creature's controller. So yeah, this is okay. Potentially doing like 5 damage for only 2 red mana, sort of spread across creature and controller is all right. I think that's okay. So like a fairly decent amount of decent burn spells here, I suppose. On the subject of decent burn spells, Starfall is definitely not one of them. Starfall, I'd completely forgotten this card existed, and I looked at it and just like, man, is a bad card. So 4 and a red, instant speed, does 3 damage to target creature, so it's only limited to hitting creatures, and it's only 3 damage. If that creature is an enchantment, Starfall does 3 damage to that creature's controller. So, I mean, you could say, okay, well, it's 5 mana to, essentially do like a double bolt effect, like you bolt a creature, and if it's an enchantment creature, you also bolt the controller. But it's so expensive. It's so conditional. Yeah, this is just like not a great burn spell, I don't think. Yeah, really not great, in my opinion. A single Cast into Darkness, 1 the black aura goes on a creature. Enchanted creature gets -2, -0, and can't block, which is, fine. Stops something blocking your Minotaurs. Fine. And 2 Spiteful Blows, 4 and double black, sorcery, destroy target creature and target land. So I don't know what it is. Like in the past few sets, there's been this whole spate of like these really like 6 cost sorcery black removal spells that destroy a creature and do like a very other minor effect, like Sip of Hemlock or Assassin Strike, right? At least this is like destroying a land as well. That's like a slightly better effect, but yeah, it's still obviously very expensive, and its sorcery speed is not ideal, but it's okay. It's okay. And then 14 mountains and 11 swamps. So let's talk about what could have been. So it's basically using all the Minotaurs that can be used, really. So we can't really do anything there. So the only real suggestion I have for an alternate rare is, which is something I think would be quite fitting to stick with the Minotaur theme, is Dictate of the Twin Gods. So it's 3 in double red, enchantment flash. If a source would deal damage to a permanent or player, it basically deals double damage. And I only thought this because it's you're obviously playing a very aggressive deck with all these Minotaurs and stuff, and it also features Mogus, who's like the god of the Minotaurs. So I just thought like that's kind of on theme. But like Spawn of Thraxes is perfectly fine. Just feels weird that like in the Mindful deck, just the foil facial is just like, it's just a random dragon, sure. But yeah, this could have been an alternate rare maybe. But not instead of the Rage Blood Shaman. That absolutely has to stay because it's a great card. And then other alternate cards, I don't know. I thought maybe like splash out, like have some of these red Strive cards, just because like I know we've had one deck that used like basically all the green and white Strive cards, but they were in every color, so I thought, oh yeah, this is a deck that cares about combat. This might be a good place to include them. So Blinding Flare is just 1 red mana, and 1 red mana to Strive it. And it just stops creatures blocking, which is 100% what the deck wants to do. It wants creatures out of the way, so all the Minotaurs can rush in and do a bunch of damage. And Rouse the Mob, which is actually like I think a fairly okay little combat trick at just 1 red mana to give something +2/+0 and trample until end turn, and you can strive it for 2 and a red. So again, like I think these would have all been kind of fine options just to splash in here, but especially over like some really subpar burn like Starfall is so bad. I'd completely forgotten that card existed, but yeah. So overall, yeah, I think it's all right. I kind of have a bit of a soft spot for the Minotaurs because throughout Magic's history, Minotaurs have historically been treated very badly. So it was nice they finally have like a theme deck where they have like a lot of all these kind of keyword lords and stuff, giving them all these bonuses and stuff. I think it's kind of fun. Not sure how it would have played, but yeah, I think it's fun. I think that's the main thing. But I'd like to know what your thoughts and opinions and comments about this deck is. So stick a comment below if you got any stories about this deck or any of the cards in it. And I'll give those a read. I always like reading those. But I'll bet next time go look at the last Journey Into Nyx intro pack and the last deck of the season. So join me for that next time. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.